We had the termite, we had the home inspection summary, the pool inspection, 2 roof inspections, and an HVAC inspection.
Welcome to Real Siblings, It Ain't Easy, a real estate podcast with the goal to educate, inform, and save their listeners time as they navigate the market and properties in their neighborhoods. Get ready to join real-life siblings and professional real estate advisors, Donna Reed and Eric Seemann, as they discuss how it may be simple, but it ain't always easy.
Every time I think about the places I have known, I realize that times have changed. So I'll do what I can to make this house into a home. Yeah, yeah.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Real Siblings, It Ain't Easy. We are glad you found us, and we are thrilled to have you. I'm Eric. She's Donna. We are the Real Siblings. If you are a new listener and are joining us for the first time, please do us a favor and listen to the entire episode. We are confident that you will like what you hear and decide to join our growing community. To our returning listeners, thanks for joining us once again. And just like I asked the new listeners, please listen all the way through to the whole episode. It's important to our ongoing success. We believe our unique blend of real estate together with lifestyle is both informative and enlightening. While the topics vary and conversations always go in many directions, we endeavor to provide our listeners with insights into our industry, better equipping them for their next real estate transaction. And for that very reason, our topic today is, drumroll, Donna.
Okay. Home inspections. What an exciting topic.
Mandatory. I can't believe it's really taken us this long to think about this as a topic.
Well, we both are in the middle of home inspections and what's happening. And I think right now the real estate climate with buyers and sellers and how many listings versus buyers we have is exacerbating that. So
in what way?
Well, in Tucson anyway, because we have more houses on the market, more choices. Buyers are being pickier about things that 2 or 3 or 4 years ago they wouldn't have asked for.
Couldn't have asked for. It's like, look, take it. Yep. Give us more money than we're asking or hit the road.
So now they'd be like, oh, this house has been on the market 30 days or 60 days or however many days it's been. And so they clearly need to sell. So we can ask for everything, you know.
The other part of that is, oh, what's wrong with it?
Yeah, right. There's got to be something wrong because it sat on the market longer than it did 2 years ago when my neighbors sold in 2 hours. Yeah. So you sent me a home inspection a little while ago, which I just kind of glanced at for a property that you're under, and you and I were talking as we typically do before we start recording. I've never seen one quite like this. And what did the D stand for? It was like, what were the 4 categories?
D is deficiency.
Okay, so what were those 4 across the category?
There's inspected, not inspected, satisfactory, and deficient.
So I scrolled through the first page or 2, and only one thing wasn't deficient. And you're representing the buyer, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that is the inspection that my buyer paid for.
Right.
Correct.
And chose the inspector. It wasn't someone that you had used before, which is fine. That's their job, right? The buyers get to decide who they want to use.
Correct. Before we go deeper into that, let's talk a little bit of process.
Okay.
For anybody who hasn't done this before, if you are a buyer, we highly recommend as a real estate professional that you hire somebody to do a whole home inspection. If there are systems within the house that go beyond the capabilities or scope of a whole home inspection, then you may need an additional inspector. Previous episode, we talked about septic systems. That's a different person. If you have a well, water testing, that's a different organization. If you have a lot of trees, probably something more common in my area than in your area, but you may need an arborist because there's this thing that attacks trees called oak wilt. And the oak trees are very, very common here in Texas. And it'll kill the trees within months. Trees that are centuries old can be wiped out and die within months. And if you think that's an issue, you hire an arborist to come in and take a look and see if that's something that's a concern to you. So there's different levels of inspection, but generally a whole home inspection, someone who is licensed and certified by the real estate commission in their state to come in and check the systems from a visible standpoint.
Right.
They're not allowed to go knocking holes in walls. If there's furniture blocking something, you can't move the furniture out of the way. So that means we don't always get outlets all checked. We don't always get to see every switch. We can't see.
You don't always know if every window,
every vent fan or anything like that may be around the baseboards, if that's what you have.
Right.
So there's limits. However, it's the best we have, because as much as Donna and I are professionals, combined well over 30 years in real estate background, we're not inspectors. We don't look at it with the same eye, same character that the inspector is paid to do. We don't walk around with an outlet checker in our pocket to go through it. Wow, why isn't that light coming on? Let's put this in the socket. So there's things that it's not our job. We stay in our lane. So we do this whole home inspection.
And so when you do the whole home inspection, so there's one guy here that I use where if he wants, he'll ask me if I want any of the auxiliary inspections, and then he'll set those up. So he'll say, okay, I'll get the pool guy, I'll get the termite or whatever. Do you have inspectors that do that too, where they'll bring in the specialists?
Yes. And since I've had my license, now 11 years for me, that has changed a little bit. Used to be that anything that was a special system had to be somebody else, but now they're giving the whole home inspectors a little bit more latitude to cover some of those systems. Now they'll still say, look, I'm allowed to check the HVAC, but it's not what I do every day.
Not my specialty.
So you still recommend, based on what I saw, need to have someone who's a professional HVAC company come in and check your swamp cooler, your heat pump, your whatever it is that you're using to help control the climate in your house.
Right.
The one that's most common is that same inspector will do the wood destroying insect or pest inspection too.
We have some that do that. I still, because of my relationship in BNI, I hired that guy independently. Usually I suggest that he be hired. But what the inspectors that I prefer will do, they'll look at the roof themselves, but then they'll say, Donna, better get a roofer out here, that kind of a thing. Or they'll look at the pool, they do a generic, and then you better get somebody needs to really look at that filter or that kind of a thing. So besides the one that you sent me a little while ago, I just got the inspections. It's like at 7 this morning. And I wrote back to the buyer's agent and I went, a little easy morning reading, he wrote and stuff, because we had the termite, we had the home inspection summary, the pool inspection, 2 roof inspections, and an HVAC inspection. That was my wake up email today.
And how long does it take to get all that done?
You know what? I was shocked because he said he was able to get almost everybody all on Monday. I couldn't believe it. And then a couple yesterday, because originally when he sent me the schedule, I thought it was going to be all week. And when he was already done with them, I think they're working on their repair requests right now as we record on what they wanted, but he got them done quickly. So.
Okay. And because we're in 2 different states, for everybody who's hasn't listened before, I'm in Texas, Donna's in Arizona. Every state has their own licensing practices, procedures, promulgated forms, the way we do things. How many days do you normally have from the time you sign in a contract and all the parties agree to get those inspections done? Is there a specified amount of time in Arizona?
The contract, the purchase contract defaults to 10 days, but then there's a line where we can fill in if we want more. So if I know that a home is going to get accepted on a Friday, I always ask for more than 10 days because we now have 2 weekends that are part of that 10 days. And I can't guarantee that I get any of those people out there that quickly. So, and you do way more of the rural thing, getting the septic people and getting the well people and all that. I've done 2 wells in 20 years.
Yeah, you've done 2 wells, but you've probably done more pools.
Oh yeah.
In this year than I've done in my in my 11 years.
Yeah.
In-ground pools are just not something that, despite the climate that we're in, despite how hot it is, I just have not had a lot where I've had pools.
That's
2 or 3.
That's really interesting. Huh. So do you also then have sewer scopes? Like if you're on a regular water system, do they come in and they check the sewer lines from?
You can, but that actually is a form now because everybody freaks out with water.
Yeah.
You're going to mess with my water, and it's like, hey, we're going to do some hydrostatic testing. It's like, oh my gosh, they're going to blow up my pipes. No, we're going to block things down here, and we're just going to see if the water level stays. If it doesn't stay where we have it blocked, then we may have some piping issues underneath the house, and you'll want somebody else to look at it. That's all it is. But when you use, it's like a doctor using, oh, he has a huge hematoma. It's like, what's that? Oh, he's bruised. And like, oh, you're going to do hydrostatic testing. What does that involve? Are my pipes going to blow up?
Yeah.
No.
So I want to go back then to the one that you sent me today. Is your buyer a first-time buyer? Is it VA? Is it FHA? What's your?
She is a first-time buyer. Okay. It is an FHA.
Okay.
And
government loan for folks.
She has a limited budget.
Okay.
And because of that, even though we're finding houses, it makes an FHA qualified home.
Yeah.
Because FHA lending, Federal Housing Administration, that means someone at the federal level in some way, form, or fashion is involved in this going, we're not going to underwrite this and lend money because we're not convinced the house is still going to be standing in 2 years.
That's weird.
Potentially. I have had FHA transactions that things that were determined to be unpermitted additions or work had to be torn down.
Huh.
Had to be corrected. You had to extend the contracting process while they resolved permits that should have been pulled that never were pulled, that then needed to have inspections to prove that the permitting was and the work was done, and on and on and on. And oh, by the way, that was electric, so now we have to patch walls up, that sort of thing. There was one I was in one time with investor I've worked with on numerous transactions. We were again selling a house that he had. We knew it was going to be a problem. Said we were not going to take an FHA. So we actually had a buyer's agent turned in a form saying that this was conventional, and we start checking into it. And it's like, this isn't conventional. This is FHA. And oh, by the way, it's also getting some money through the San Antonio grants division, and everything that's on the inspection has to be repaired. Everything. So all those little D's that you saw in my inspection that I sent to you, every single thing had to be repaired. If it was a baseboard, the baseboard had to be repaired. If there was paneling or nails or whatever, had to be done if we were going to go ahead with it. And we were already it's another one of those. Everybody gets invested in the transaction. Everybody. Buyer has committed to having an inspection done. They've committed money. They've got earnest money in. They've got, in Texas, we've got this thing, the option fee. All of those monies are happening. Sellers going, now I pulled it off to the market. People, and you always have to risk. Sorry, but when a house comes back on the market, the first thing, and we've mentioned this in previous episodes, is people go, well, obviously something's wrong with the house. Otherwise, it wouldn't be back on the market. So you're in all of those kind of thoughts and situations. So it's like, yep, we're going to drive ahead and we're going to do this. So the report that you got today, I don't know if you saw the house is only 942 square feet, single bathroom.
I didn't look at the size of it. You had told me that. I looked at
and it's a 37-page inspection report.
For 900 and some square feet.
With one bathroom.
Wow.
No pool, no. So it can be a lot to dig through. So your example when you started this saying, and we got the pool, and we got 2 roof, and we've got the house, and we've done.
Yeah. And people say all we realtors do is show pretty houses.
Show pretty houses, like that one that you're sitting in right now.
This is coming on the market soon, you guys. Check it out.
Not your great room.
Yeah, it's kind of like a hexagon room. It's interesting to me too. What's really funny is if you look really close, you can see out the windows and the mountains and stuff way in the distance.
Wow.
Like, you got to really want to do that.
But in order for you to see the mountains, you'd have to turn around and then we'd see the back of
That's
your head.
true.
And
That's true.
that all would be
That would be
awkward.
very weird. Yeah. So what do you think your buyer's going to do? Because didn't you tell me they already got a good price on the house? Because
Yes. Yeah. So part of our job, regardless of which party we're representing, that's whose corner we're in. That's our fiduciary responsibility. So when we were submitting an offer, the listing agent said, hey, do you want to see the appraisal we did in July of last year? It's like, no, not going to make a difference. And she's like, oh, okay. Just so you know, it came in at, which was above their current listing price.
Wow.
And of course, we came in below the listing price. And we asked for a lot of things for the seller to contribute to. One of the other questions we have going on, I know we're talking inspections right now, but there's a survey.
Oh.
And up till this point, we had been told there was no survey, there was no survey, there was no survey. Part of our promulgated forms, we can say, produce the survey or buy a new one. Or buyer can choose to buy a new one on their own. Or you can say, seller, we don't want to see anything old. We just want a brand new one. And that's what we chose to select on this contract.
How big is the lot? How big is the land? How much land?
This one is, gosh, I want to say it's 0.2. So it's a decent size lot. It's long and narrow, 900 square feet, got a detached garage, has land behind the garage. It's an older neighborhood. Lots were bigger.
Well, I know, but even that 0.2 to me, like I've never surveyed a 0.2 lot. Now in Tucson, we have a lot of walls in between things and they're pretty well defined. So in the older part of town, there could be some of that where, all of a sudden the flowers along the driveway are on the neighbor's instead of on your, side. But
right.
The only ones that we've had surveyed are the ones that have been rural, where we really want to know where this land starts and stops, but nothing on 0.2. So that's fascinating.
Right. So it's got driveway that extends past the house. It goes into this accessory building, garage, which has been partially converted. But they've also then added a new pad at the front of the house and a carport. And the carport is steel. So I've got a new concrete pad and steel that suddenly out of nowhere, we have a new survey that showed up from 1971. Now, is FHA going to be thrilled about accepting a 54-year-old survey or 53-year-old survey to a 1971? And oh, by the way, I'm just going to take a ballpoint pen and draw in. Here's the new pad, and here's when we already agreed that they're going to provide a new one.
How much would a survey cost there for that size lot?
Something like that. Probably still going to be around $575 for basically a 4-corner survey and then the improvements in between.
Yeah, that's what
no elevation, no.
Wow. So at this point, when did you get that report back, Eric?
This morning.
Have you, I assume the buyer has it also.
She does. And honestly, part of our delay in our recording schedule today was I was on the phone with her talking through saying, okay, so this is the first thing that I'm seeing and the one that I think we have to ask for. Okay. And in my opinion, it was the electrical, because this is a 1963 build house that has 1963 electrical code. Okay. And that impacts not only UDC, Uniform Development Code, but it also impacts the city, because the city has changed things exterior to the building. I didn't pay enough attention when I was there, but with the depth of this lot, there's a new code that if the power lines are running over 100 square feet, you have to put a new pole in.
Got to put a new what in?
A new power pole in. And this is a house that I think the utilities were coming from the back of the house to the house. So from an old alleyway easement at the back, it's going to be really close to that 100 feet. If we request that they move the electrical wiring above the roof line, which is current code. That's a whole cascade of things. And basically everything that's exterior on the house that's electrical then is subject to whatever the city says needs to be done. So that can be new primary junction box, new meters, new wiring, the weatherhead, possibly a new pole, all of it.
How far is this home from where you live? Because we always say, I'm in the Tucson area, you're in San Antonio, but you're in the hill country. You're outside of the city.
I am outside of the city. It takes me an hour and 5 minutes to drive there, one way.
I do that if I go catty corner, if I head towards El Paso from where I live.
Right. If you go all the way out towards the other side, Davis Mountain and
I have a listing coming up down in actually two kind of in that area. It seems like they go in cycles, and that's fine. But they are in subdivisions. They are still in developments. They're not, if you head further south into Sonoyta, there's wine country and, horse country. And I just don't do that. You could, and you would, you have a much more extensive knowledge of all of that, even though you don't own a horse. You've had 53 pets. So, you might. And
I have helped take care of friends' horses. I have helped take care of the neighbor's horses.
Yeah. That's right down the road.
And snakes and whatever else I need to watch.
Pet snakes.
Yeah. So in your process, is there an option for your seller to choose not, or your buyer to choose not to do an inspection?
Yeah. Yep.
If they do that, do they have to document that they're saying we don't want an inspection?
Yeah. They have to sign something that they have chosen not to do it. It's
okay. Is that a Arizona real estate form, Arizona Real Estate Association, or is it Arizona Real Estate Commission?
That's an excellent question. I'm just trying to think because I just pulled them in from DocuSign.
I was going to say, is it ARC or right? Isn't that what it is? Isn't it Arizona Real Estate Commission? Is it?
When I pull documents from DocuSign, there's 6 different categories. I don't do the same thing that Phoenix does. Because I'm a part, and so I have the MLS from Tucson, I have the Arizona ones, I have the Keller Williams ones, I have, like 6 different categories. And I'm trying to think right now. I don't know. I've never had anybody that has not
said, no, we're not going to bother to inspect.
Yeah.
Interesting. Even on the ones that have been investment properties?
You know what? I shouldn't say, maybe one or two in 20 years, but mostly no. Yeah.
But in general, because at least you go in with eyes wide open.
Right.
If you choose not to do anything, you still have knowledge that you've got issues and things that may need to be addressed within the first year of ownership as opposed to somewhere down the line.
Right. Yeah.
You mentioned this house you're under right now that it had 2 roof inspections. Why would it have 2 roof
Well,
inspections?
He knew, the seller already knew that it would probably need a roof. So there were 2 layers of shingles already. And you can't put a 3rd layer of shingles on top of the other 2. And that probably meant that it's a 1947 house. So we knew it probably needed a new roof. He said when he bought it in 2017, it would probably need roof work. They did some. And then he moved out. Somebody else, he's had a tenant. So it just never got taken care of, just the repairs that needed to. So before we listed it, we had a full home inspection and a roof inspection and a pool guy. And the pool guy's been maintaining it. He's been really awesome about seeing what had to be done that we already could prepare for as we were pricing the house and thinking about what.
Okay, so that's interesting. Your existing pool guy who's been doing the maintenance is allowed to do an inspection on a system that he's been maintaining?
So no, the guy that had been renting was doing all the stuff. I suggested, and this man came in, the tenant had left and had turned the water off. And so the pool was down like 12 to 14 inches. So I had a guy come in, he filled it up, he inspected things. And it turns out that's who the report came from today. He was there filling it while the others were there doing some of the other inspections. So he went and did a complete inspection for this buyer. We know full well that the filter is older and that it's super faded. But the biggest thing is, and I didn't know this, I didn't go in the pool. One of the steps into the pool has like a major chip on it that could really cut your foot getting in and out. So we were talking about what they might ask of the seller. Would they ask it to be drained and all taken care of, or would they plan to do that? Because they don't have to do it. The pool is working, the filter is working, everything's working. So anyway, that's how that evolved. But this guy agreed to take care of it until it was sold. This particular guy. So they've been coming in once a week while we've been doing other things. We did.
Interesting. Yeah. So we've been focusing on this one, but I have another one that I actually already have an amendment out for repairs. And I was speaking to that agent too, because that's my buyer buying a house. There were several different things that it's like, okay, look, we're boiling it down. I always try to coach going, look, it's just not realistic. If you really want the house, you can't ask for everything to be repaired. Because part of our discussion beforehand, it's like, look, you chose to put an offer in on a house that was built in 1947 because you like unique features that went with the 1947 house. A 1947 house is going to have some 1947 issues.
Yeah.
No matter how much renovation or things have been done.
Right.
There's something somewhere that's that issue. So you're buying a pre-owned home. This one, in this case, is only 10 years. And because this house has 3 full bathrooms and a half bath and the kitchen and everything else, they have 2 40-gallon water heaters that are part of the system of the house. From my standpoint, looking at it, because I was there for part of the inspection, could not stay for the whole thing because of my schedule, but I got far enough in that I actually saw the water heaters. And one of the water heaters, drip pan at the bottom, had moisture in it, had visible signs that it had previous moisture in it. You look at the bottom of that water heater and you could see rust and corrosion and bubbling around most of the bottom of the tank. So it may not have exploded yet and flooded, but it's coming. So we said, look, we want a professional, licensed, insured plumber in to take a look, inspect, service, repair, replace as needed, and prove to us that it's been done. That was our request. When I was in conversation with the listing agent on this, she goes, what's this mean, the one on the left? Or left one? And I said, well, there's 2 water heaters in there. She's like, there's 2 water heaters?
In a closet? Was it like in a closet?
No. It's in the garage. And they're fully exposed in the garage on a platform above. And it makes total sense to me that one of the systems runs the lower level of the house, which is the kitchen, the primary bedroom that's downstairs, the dishwasher, those systems, washer, dryer, utility room downstairs. The water heater number 2 runs the 2 full bathrooms upstairs. And they don't use that a whole lot. So from my standpoint, the one that's showing the wear and tear and is leaking is the one that's getting the most demand because the family lives downstairs and it's the one that gets the most usage. How much is that going to cost to repair, replace? Because then we get into, do you negotiate for a discount and you choose who's doing the repair and the replacement? You, meaning your buyer, is going to come in and now have the choice of who's doing the work, how they want to do the connections, what kind of equipment they want to put in, as opposed to, hey, we want you to get this fixed by a professional and just tell us what was done. So we're expecting that a 40-gallon water heater is going to be replaced with a 40-gallon water heater. Does it need to be the same brand? Not necessarily. No. Is it probably going to have galvanized connections? Likely. Would brass be better? Absolutely, with our water in San Antonio. But those are the kind of things that are part of the inspection and part of the negotiation and part of our job to be able to help our buyers decipher, or even our sellers. Because honestly, sellers live in the house. And the sellers in this particular house, the one with the 2 water heaters I was just talking about, are military. They've only been in the house for about 2.5 years. She got new orders, they're getting transferred. In 2.5 years, do they know everything that was going on in their 10-year-old house? Nope. Did they focus on a lot of those things? No, they didn't. I mean, deployments, military, kids, babies, everything else. If you wake up and you have hot water, you take a shower. Not having hot water only becomes an issue when it's flooding your house someplace or you have no hot water. Right. So we still have hot water. It's not an issue.
Interesting.
Until we do the inspection, and it is.
Well, and I think sometimes when we go in and we look at homes and you see what someone has done, you go, it's interesting that that's what they chose to do, whatever that is, right? And, I was in one, and it's a manufactured house, super cute, redone. My buyer, not unlike yours, simple lower price point, first time home buyer, all those things. All the windows are original, and on as you go across the back of the house, if you took is your living room, is it window all the way across?
We have 4 windows.
Okay.
It's not one window, but it's 4 30-inch windows
across it. And they're all the little end of, thin single pane. And it's going to be beautiful and bright and hot. So, especially, so I told her, I said, if this looks like one of the only things that isn't in reasonably good shape. The people selling it, I know the agents that have the listing and stuff, but I said, you just need to be prepared that your first air conditioning bill in the summer could be high if we get this house, that kind of a thing. And so as the other things are done, sometimes in the past we've called it putting lipstick on a pig. It looks pretty when you walk in, and some people, that's all they see. And other people, they can see beyond everything that they look around at. Like this, I like this house that I'm looking at here. And frankly, it's in really good shape. We've had it appraised. We know, and stuff. But that doesn't tell you what's underneath. Just like you were saying, you can't, it's the stuff that you don't see. And if it's a house that's filled with stuff, that might be make the offer without an inspection, because you can't get to all the stuff on the wall and stuff anyway. And somebody in their head just goes, yep, I'm going to get rid of this all and flip it. And it's going to be this, or this, which could lead us to another topic, huh? We could do that.
It certainly could.
Yeah.
As we had several different things that were potential topics for today, and future episodes that are still going to happen anyhow, because there's more discussionability to have.
So is
that a word?
Should we wrap it up, little brother?
I think I gave you that obligation.
You
today.
did. You did. I have this.
You get to choose the wording.
You can't see because of my virtual background. So, and by the way, Eric's background with horses and flags is in honor of Memorial Day, because we're
That's
in
right.
the month of May.
It's Memorial Day sometime this month of May, so I'm going to put some American flags out there.
There you go. So to all of our listeners, thank you for joining us and for sticking with us all the way to the end. Eric, you're pushing that. We don't take that lightly, and we appreciate the time that you're committing for us and for this podcast as part of your routine. As we conclude this, we hope that our conversation and insights will help you find the perfect property for you to call home, create lasting memories, and build your own wonderful life. Oh, Eric, look how you did this. It's a wonderful life. It's not just about the houses or just the lifestyle, but it's a blend of the two. As a final reminder, we are both realtors with Keller Williams and are here to assist you. If you're in Tucson, Arizona or Southern Arizona, I'm available to help. And if you're in San Antonio or the Texas Hill Country, Eric would be happy to assist. If you're across the United States or around the world, we're both part of an extensive network of professional real estate advisors, and we'd be happy to connect you with another amazing realtor. So remember, it may be simple, but it ain't always easy. And until next time, I'm Donna.
And I'm Eric.
And we are
Real Siblings.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, y'all.
Every time I think about the places I have known, I realize that times have changed. So I'll do what I can to make this house into a home. Yeah, yeah. Oh.
Hi, I'm Annabelle, and I want to thank you for investing your valuable time in listening to Real Sibling. It Ain't Easy. I hope you found this episode informative and enjoyable. There are several ways you can support this podcast with my Grandpa Eric and Aunt Grandma. Please take the time to like, follow, and subscribe. Additionally, leave them a 5-star rating along with a review on your preferred podcast platform. The final thing I would ask is that you recommend this podcast to a friend, a family member, or an associate. Your engagement is critical to their ongoing success, and they look forward to connecting. Check out the show notes Grandpa put together with their contact information, including emails, phone numbers, and website. And remember, the Real Siblings look forward to hearing from you.